Hey everyone, Kevin here. Time for Q&A in the car, volume 2. And basically just a pretty laid back session, but I answer your questions live on video in my car. And that's pretty much it. So I had a couple questions that were commented earlier, but if anybody's watching and wants to comment any questions below, then I'll see them and I'll try to get to them. So I want to start off with just a kind of a icebreaker segment each week, and I'm going to be calling that 4 quadrants. Here's how it's going to work. I'm going to pick a random off-the-wall topic. I'm going to list several items in that category, and then for each of those items I'm going to place it into one of 4 quadrants. I'm a math guy, what can I say? Quadrant 1 is going to be the fantastic, Quadrant 2 will be the good, Quadrant 3 will be the acceptable, and Quadrant 4 will be the unacceptable. Alright? We're going to be starting off with ice cream flavors today, alright? So I just wrote down several as they came to me, and I'm going to place them in one of the 4 quadrants. Alright, so the first one I wrote down was mint chocolate chip. Hello, Isaiah and Caleb. Let me just say hello really quick. Good to have you joining us. Mint chocolate chip. This goes right off the bat into Quadrant 4. Mint chocolate chip is an unacceptable ice cream flavor. Peppermint does not belong anywhere in ice cream. Alright, next we have vanilla. Vanilla goes into the Quadrant 2, which is good. Not fantastic, but good. Vanilla is good. And that can be any kind of vanilla, homemade vanilla, vanilla bean, just plain vanilla, soft serve vanilla, actual vanilla ice cream. Those all fit into Quadrant 2. Good. I'll eat them, and I like them, but they're not as good as the ones in Quadrant 1. Alright, chocolate. Chocolate, sorry to disappoint any of you chocolate fans, but chocolate goes straight into Quadrant 4. Unacceptable flavor of ice cream. It doesn't actually taste like real chocolate. I don't know what it tastes like, but it's pretty gross. I don't like chocolate. Don't like chocolate ice cream. Strawberry. Strawberry, I think I'm going to go ahead and place in Quadrant 3 as acceptable. Strawberry is an acceptable flavor of ice cream. It's not fantastic, but it's eatable. I'll eat it if that's the only option. Let's see. Butter pecan. Everybody says that differently. So if you're just joining us, I'm doing a segment that I'm starting. So Isaiah, I see your question there. Sorry. I'm doing a segment called 4 Quadrants, where I'm just taking a random category of things. This week it's ice cream flavors, and I'm just listed a bunch of them, and I'm going to place each one into one of 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1 is fantastic. Quadrant 2 is good. Quadrant 3 is acceptable. Quadrant 4 is unacceptable. So that's where we're at so far. We're currently on butter pecan. That's how I pronounce it. It's the proper way to pronounce it. And butter pecan, I'll place that in the good quadrant. So that is Quadrant 2. It is not like the best of the best, but I do like butter pecan. All right, cookie dough, definitely Quadrant 1. Cookie dough is a fantastic ice cream flavor. There are definitely some brands that do cookie dough better than others, but and usually that just depends on how much actual cookie dough they have in it. Some of them put cookie dough on the label, but it's actually just a bunch of vanilla ice cream and like 2 chocolate chip size chunks of cookie dough in them. And so that kind of cookie dough is unacceptable just because it's false marketing, in my opinion. But actual cookie dough ice cream with a bunch of cookie dough in it, that is Quadrant 1. Cookies and cream. Cookies and cream is, let's see, we'll put that in Quadrant 2. It's not best of the best, but it's good. It's not as good as cookie dough, but it is good. And again, that kind of depends on the brand. All of these obviously are going to depend on what brand you get. Mint chocolate chip, it doesn't matter what brand you get. It's awful. Let's see, Neapolitan. This is like the first kind of ice cream that I had, and like as a kid, that was the only time. Probably because my mom wanted to not give us all this stuff with all the candy and stuff in it. But we used to eat a lot of Neapolitan out of the big, the big tubs, like the bucket ones. We used to always get that as a kid, and so I developed a fondness for it. But now that I've had other flavors, I think I'm just going to stick Neapolitan in quadrant 2. It's good, but it's not best of the best. Rocky Road goes in 4. I don't think I need to debate that. Rocky Road definitely belongs in quadrant 4. Unacceptable flavor of ice cream. Moose Tracks. If you're unfamiliar with Moose Tracks, this is like a fudge ripple with peanut butter cup chunks in it, in vanilla ice cream. That is definitely quadrant 1. That's a fantastic flavor of ice cream. So I'm going to put that in there. And then chocolate chip. Where does chocolate chip go? Chocolate chip would go in probably quadrant 3. It's acceptable. It's all right. Not mint chocolate chip. Mint. We already agreed on mint. just plain vanilla with chocolate chip would go in quadrant 3. It's acceptable, but it's not fantastic. Good. So those are the ones I had written down. If I missed any flavors, feel free to comment, and I will assign them to the appropriate quadrant. Next week, I'll do the same segment here at the beginning of the Q&A, and I'm thinking of going with Christmas songs, but not like hymns from the hymnal Christmas carols. Obviously, I'm not going to put any of those. Those are all going to be in like the top categories because they're good doctrinal songs. I'm talking about like the traditional radio Christmas songs that are not necessarily associated with church. And so go ahead, and if you have some that you would like to hear my take on, feel free to comment below, and next week I will do 4 quadrants with traditional radio Christmas songs. All right? Chocolate fudge brownie ice cream, Caleb. That would... Are we talking chocolate ice cream with the fudge brownie in it? Because any kind of chocolate ice cream, that ruins whatever you put in it if it's chocolate ice cream. I'll put a lot of things into my vanilla ice cream, but if we're talking vanilla ice cream with like a fudge swirl and brownie chunks in it, then definitely quadrant 1. But if it's chocolate ice cream, that would actually probably bump it all the way down to quadrant 4, because I don't like chocolate ice cream at all. All right. So let's see here. I did have a couple questions earlier today. If you're just joining us for Q&A in the car, feel free to comment your questions below, and I'll try to get to them. But I had these questions asked earlier today. So I believe it was Sarah that asked about adding chord progressions to songs. So how do you add chord progressions to your songs? So if I'm understanding the question correctly, here's what I would say on that. That whether you're arranging or composing, then you want to have kind of some target chords in mind. This is how I do. I use circle of fifths. So if you're not familiar with the circle of fifths, I would just say Google circle of fifths. I could explain it here, and I'll get into a little bit of it, but I mean, there's so many resources out there that'll show you it in a visual way and can explain it probably even better than I can. But if you're familiar with the circle of fifths at all, as far as what chords lead to what other chords, C leads to F, F leads to B flat, E flat usually resolves to A flat, D usually resolves to G. You can use that circle of fifths to fill in some chord progressions in your song. So what I encourage my students to do if they're wanting to reharmonize or arrange a song and add some chord progressions is I'll take them to like the end of a line. Okay, we're in the key of E flat. We know that we want to end this line of the song in the E flat chord. So then we just work backwards through our circle of fifths. Okay, what chord resolves to E flat? B flat. So we're going to insert a B flat chord somewhere before that E flat. Okay, then we go backward again. What chord leads to B flat? F. So in the key of E flat, that would usually be an F minor chord. Okay, so now we've got F minor to B flat, resolving to E flat. And then we can keep going back if we want to. What chord leads to F? C. So I'll pick a C chord or a C minor chord. So C minor to F minor to B flat to E flat. All right, so then we've got our circle of fifths progression. And you can go as far back as you want to, as far back as you're able to insert it in. You can start that progression wherever you want to, and then you just go through the circle of fifths until you get to your chord that you want to end on at the end of that line. And from there you can make substitutions. You can add some color to those chords. Instead of a C minor, you could do a C minor 7 or a C minor add 2, or you could turn it into a plain C7 instead of a C minor if that fits. An actual C major chord or a C major with a major minor 7. So you've got options there. You can do chord substitutions. Usually you can substitute your 2 minor chord for your 4 chord, or vice versa. So in the key of E flat, if I'm playing F minor, I can usually play an A flat there, and it'll work just as well, and vice versa. So, but the circle of fifths is kind of what you base everything on. And when somebody's just starting out wanting to add a chord progression into a song, I point them to the circle of fifths, and I usually get them to where they either have it written down or have it printed out, and then they pick the target chord and just work backward through their song from there. And you can get some great reharmonizations that way. Okay? If you're just joining us for Q&A in the car, go ahead and comment any questions that you have below. It can be about music or it can be about anything else. We just finished a scintillating conversation about ice cream flavors, so feel free to comment below with any questions that you have. Share the video with any friends you think might be interested. All right, so that was our first question, was how to add chord progressions to songs. I had another question. I think Lori had asked me, why do we not have key changes in congregational singing? That is true. It is very rare to see a key change in congregational singing. And there could be different reasons for this. I'll give you probably the main reasons for it. I do agree that it's kind of sad that because I think she had commented that there's some songs that just would build so well into a key change, like on the last verse or something. I agree with that. But hey, Kobe, I see your question. I'll get to that in a minute. So let's see here. Why do we not do key changes in congregational singing? Okay, so number one would be the fact that a lot of church pianists are not able to transpose on the fly. In order to do a key change, as an instrumentalist, you need to be able to look at, every song that you're playing as a pianist or organist has a key that it's written in the hymnal, and that's what you're reading from. So let's say At Calvary is written in the key of C in most hymnals. If you wanted to key change into D flat, then they would have to be able to, in their heads, change the music that they're seeing into the key of D flat. Some musicians can do this. It's not completely uncommon to see some that can do this, but it is rather uncommon to find church pianists that can do this well and can do it frequently. Usually it has to be very particular keys. So I always encourage my students, and I push for church pianists to learn how to transpose, because I think it's important to be able to play by ear and play any hymn in any key for reasons like this. So that's one reason. Okay, so second reason is kind of tied into that, and that is because a lot of church pianists cannot transpose, the only other solution would be then to give them At Calvary in the key of C, and then transpose the music into the key of D flat, and then give them the same song in the key of D flat next to that, so that they can look at the C version until they switch to D flat, and then they can look at the D flat version. And then you're talking about looking for new music, or maybe even transposing the music yourself. That's time consuming. As a music minister, to do that, it's not unheard of, but it does take time. And then again, it's not something that you'd be able to just do on the fly most of the time. So you'd have to take a lot of preparation beforehand on that. I have been in services where this has been done with the song It Is Well With My Soul, which is a great one to do a key change on the last verse, where we'll do it in the key of C, and then on the last verse, it key changes to D flat. In every case that's happened, it's been one of those two scenarios. It's either it was just a pianist playing by himself that could play by ear and transpose, or it was pianist and organist, but they both had the version in both C and D flat in front of them so that they could see the music. Okay, because that's another thing to consider, is if you've got a pianist and an organist, they need to both know what's going on and both be just as comfortable playing in both of those keys. So if you don't have music in front of both of them, that could be difficult. So I agree that I would love to hear more congregational singing with key changes in it, but most of the time that's not going to happen unless you just have one pianist by himself that's the only instrumentalist, no organ or anything else, and he is good at playing by ear and transposing, or she is good at transposing and playing by ear to any key. I encourage church pianists to learn how to play in any song in any key, to develop your ear and your transposing ability to do that. If you want to be a well-rounded church pianist, you need to be able to do that. And that's something that you're going to hear me say often. and that's something that a lot of church pianists cannot do. And there are ways to learn how to do that. That'll probably be a topic for another time, but it will be one that I'll cover probably in the future. Okay, so those are some reasons why there aren't key changes as often. I would love to see more. I think that will happen as more church pianists learn how to transpose. You might mention the keyboards that have the transpose buttons on them, but that's not going to go very smooth because you'd have to stop and then press the transpose, and there would be this awkward pause in the middle of your song. If you didn't stop, then when you press the button and then started playing again, it would just be this rather jarring transition, and there wouldn't be a modulation at all. Okay? Sorry, having some video problems here. Hopefully everything will work out well. All right, we're back on now. Okay, so those are the questions I had. Let's see, Kobe, how often does a key change to the 4 of a song? C to F. Oh, so you're talking about a key change from C to F. That is actually one of, I did a video a while back, but I think I had to pull it down because it had some technical problems. But I talked about the 4 most common types of modulations or key changes, and that was one of them actually, to the 4 chord. So you've got, of course, going up a half step, going up a whole step, and then the 3rd most common, in my opinion, is that one, going to the 4. That is maybe the easiest modulation to pull off, and here's how you do it. So you're talking about, let's say we're going to key change from C to F. So you end on your C chord, then you just turn the C chord into a C7. You just add that B flat on top, and then suddenly that chord leads right into an F chord. Because in your circle of fifths, C leads to F, circle of fifths that I was talking about earlier, that makes that key change work really, really well. So you can do a key change from C to F by simply using the C7 chord, turning your C into a C7 chord, and then that'll flow right into your F chord. So that's how that one is pulled off. And then the other common modulation, I mentioned there was 4, is going up a minor 3rd. That one's not as intuitive. I'd have to kind of show you how that works, and hopefully I'll be able to do that again here soon. If you're just joining us for Q&A in the car, go ahead and comment your questions below. Questions can be about any topic. It can be music related, church music related, or it can have nothing to do with any of those things. We just talked about ice cream flavors a little while ago. We talked about fast food and Thanksgiving dishes last week. So feel free to ask questions on anything. In the meantime, I'll go ahead and put a plug in. This Thursday, I'll be doing another live hymn request video. So if you have any requests for me to play any hymns, we had several Christmas requests last week that I was able to get to, and that kind of threw me a little bit of a curveball, so hopefully I'll be ready for that a little bit more this Thursday. So that'll be this Thursday afternoon. I'll be playing hymns live by request. Right now we're having Q&A in the car. Any questions, feel free to ask. I'll get to it. Topic is anything of your choosing. I'll go back here now since we got a little bit of time. I think Caleb had mentioned a few more ice cream flavors. Let's see. Peanut butter ice cream. What quadrant would that go in? That peanut butter, okay, if we're talking peanut butter cup, then that probably goes in quadrant 1 as fantastic. So if you're just joining us, we did this. I open my Q&A segments with something I call 4 quadrants. I pick a category, I list a bunch of things in that category, and I put them into one of 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1 is fantastic, 2 is good, 3 is acceptable, and 4 is unacceptable. And so I did a bunch of flavors of ice cream, and then my friend Caleb asked about peanut butter ice cream. If we're talking peanut butter cup, that goes in quadrant 1. That's fantastic, especially if it's actually Reese's flavor. Like I think Breyers usually does the actual name brand candies like Oreos, Reese's, Kit Kat and stuff. I think Edie's does also. But then a lot of the others like Great Value and stuff, they just kind of do generic peanut butter cups. But it's still good. Okay, what else do we have? Oh, because he mentioned chocolate fudge. And I said chocolate ice cream always goes in quadrant 4 because chocolate is a nasty flavor of ice cream. But he says if it has fudge, that makes it real chocolate. I don't know, but if a fudge swirl or whatever, or fudge chunks or whatever it is, if that's in chocolate ice cream though, I don't know. I still can't get past the chocolate ice cream thing. So, I don't know. I don't like chocolate ice cream. So, all right. Let's see. Did I have any others? Let's see. I had a couple that agreed on vanilla. Good. So I'm trying to think if there's any other ice cream flavors that I missed. Let me mention this, okay? This video is not sponsored by Bluebell ice cream, but Bluebell is a fantastic brand of ice cream. And if you're going to get Bluebell ice cream, you've got to get the cookie two-step. This is the best of both worlds. It is cookies and cream ice cream with cookie dough chunks, and we're talking big, round cookie dough chunks, not the little can-shaped, tiny, dinky, square ones that you get in some place. This is actually the big balls of cookie dough in cookies and cream ice cream. I don't know why nobody else has ever had this idea, but maybe it's patented, I don't know. But Bluebell does this cookie two-step. It's got cookies and cream with cookie dough ice cream in it, and it's a fantastic flavor of ice cream. So that's that's one of my personal favorites. So anyway, I am gonna go ahead and sign off. I don't have any more questions here, but join us next week. We'll be talking about traditional Christmas radio songs, your favorite kinds. So again, we're not talking about Christmas hymns, but feel free to comment below if you have a favorite Christmas song that you hear on the radio. One of my personal favorites is Mr. Grinch. So I can tell you right ahead of the bat that that's going to be in Quadrant 1, if anybody comments that. But any other Christmas songs of that stripe, not church Christmas songs, but traditional Christmas songs that you might hear on the radio, comment below, and we'll do the 4 quadrants with that next week. If you have any other questions you want me to address next Monday, tune in next week for Q&A in the car. Tune in Thursday for live hymn playing by request. God bless you all. Have a good night.